Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Networking Mondays. We're very glad you're with us. It's March 29th, 2021. If you have questions throughout the presentation, we ask that you just please enter them into the chat box on the Zoom using the Zoom feature. And for those people watching on Facebook right now, just enter your comments or your questions into the comment field. I'm monitoring that field, and I will be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name, picture, and comments to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Finally, my name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area by putting everything that they needed to know for their job search in one place. In 2012, I launched CareerUSA.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. That group's been around since late 1990s, and I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the PIT crew, which is the practice interview team. Well, each week we have a different speaker talking about networking. I'm really glad. I mean, look at the screen here. And I've got more faces that I need to add to these pictures here that I've lined up for speakers to talk in the future. So every week you're going to hear a different speaker talking about networking. And the reason to do this is because there's no right or wrong way to do networking. Everybody's going to talk about it from a little bit different angle and concentrate on a little bit different aspect of networking. So we're very glad you're with us. This week, Bob Maher, career management consultant. Bob used to live in the Dallas area. He actually used to run a networking group that met every Thursday mornings over in Addison. And today he's going to talk about taking the chill out of cold calls. So Bob, thank you very much for being with us. And I will get your PowerPoint loaded up here in just a second. And here you go. So Bob, thank you for being with us. It's all yours.
Okay, switch to the next slide.
Oop.
I'm seeing PowerPoint on the screen. I'm not seeing the slideshow, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Stop share. Let's see here. Let's try that one more time. Here we go.
There we go. Gary, I see you're on. You've heard this message 100 times over in Grapevine, huh? Okay, today's agenda. I want to begin with giving you some background on the process that I've used as a coach. I've been career service coaching for a little over 40 years now. I got into it before it got popular and stayed into it when it has become popular. I'm very active in the Professional Association and the Certification Board. As a matter of fact, I was on the founding committee for both of those. Been active in the local area. Well, I was in Dallas. I had for 10 years, I had every Thursday morning, a group called DFW Career Pilot. So I'm engaged, I'm motivated, I'm really passionate about this stuff. I love to see people succeed in job search, but I do want to start with explaining my basic process, which I refer to as embracing the other job market. As a former recruiter, I can tell you that there's a lot of inside politics between the operational managers and the HR folks. Embracing the other job market is embracing the fact that you want to go after those hiring authorities, which I'll get into as these first few slides go on. Next point, yeah, the prep steps. It's a 12-step process, and 8 of them are preparation steps. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making in job search is that they launch their campaign before they're totally ready to. That's why I'm taking a few minutes here in the beginning to go over those preparation steps. Most of our time is going to be spent with how do you turn the opportunities you find into interviews. Next slide. The traditional job market. It's characterized by requisition jobs being filled by chosen job seekers. The jobs have to be rigidly defined internal to each company so that they know what they're looking for, and it's communicated through HR. The screening process is overseen typically by HR professionals. In the other job market, it's characterized by, and the wording is important here, it's characterized by required work being sourced for well-qualified available talent. Notice I can describe it like this without using the word job. The aim is to get needed work fulfilled by either contractors, available insiders, or new recruits. And the process is directed by the hiring authorities seeking the best available talent at market salary expectations. Next slide. Steps 1 through 5. Have you defined your communication strategy? Step 1 is that most people need to begin with assessment. It's directed self-assessment that I'm suggesting here. You don't have to go hire an industrial psychologist or anything like that. But many of you have taken documents like the Myers-Briggs or strong interest profile or the DISC. Assessment is about getting to know yourself well enough to align who you are with the work you're seeking. What happens to us in the traditional job market is that we tend to go after the most available jobs. And it's a very restrictive market. In the second step, you take what you learn and set your objectives, positioning and targeting. What do you want to do and who do you want to do it for? With the first 2 steps under your belt, now you can design a good resume. What most job seekers do is try to make one resume do the work of everything you want to be available for. The job market itself operates most efficiently when you can tell a hiring authority that you're qualified for and positioned for the work that's available. In step 4, you confirm this by going out to your references. Your references know you better than any career coach, any psychologist, any book you read. Your references have worked over you or with you or around you. They know you best, and they can give you some really good feedback if you're listening to it. The next step is, in today's world of digital recruiting, you want to get your choice of social media on board with your campaign. I say choice because LinkedIn isn't the only one, but it's the one most of us career coaches talk about. It's the professional social networking element that really works well and has a lot of good functionality attached to it. When you're making your digital decision, one of the parts of that decision is deciding whether you're willing to push your message out or simply wanting social media to pull interest to your profile. That decision is important because it dictates how you're going to design your profile. In step 6, as long as you're on the computer, I want you to do your first level research. First level research is nothing more than identifying targets that could have the work that you're seeking. It's not looking for jobs. It's looking for companies that are doing the work that you want to be doing. Some positionings are very specific to an industry. Some positionings can be used in almost every industry. Step 7 is how do other people see you? You want to engage your marketplace. You want to pull all of your contacts together into one contact management tool. If you don't use a contact management tool, Outlook is completely sufficient. You can use Jibber Jabber. There's all kinds of them out there and available to you. You could do something as simple as a notebook with a calendar so that you can keep track of your contacts. One of the biggest problems that new job seekers face is keeping track of the activity once it starts happening. And in step 8, next, there we go. What is your plan to succeed in your job search? If you know what you want to do and you know who you want to do it for, do you have a plan on how to make that happen? I'm calling these first 8 steps things that need to be accomplished before you get into anything more than the traditional job market. By the way, for new job seekers, it's completely okay to start in the traditional job market. Check out the job boards, check out Career DFW, check out Southlake, whatever is available to you. But remember, these are traditional job market sources and resources. Next slide, let's get into it. What do you do now? Next slide. First of all, don't shoot yourself in the foot. What I mean by that is some people aren't ready to do a job search. Some people still have that lingering distrust of corporate America. Some people have so much other life happening to them that they're just simply not ready to do a job search. They're not ready to conduct themselves in a very objective, straightforward, planned out way of working. Next button. Are you aware of how you want to do your job search? There's thousands of us coaches out there. There's hundreds of books out there. Your best local resource is right there with Career DFW, where Jeff has pulled together a lot of this job search process all into one internet location for you to learn. But the important thing is that you want to stick with one approach for at least 4 to 6 weeks in your job search. You're going to be hearing all kinds of tips, tricks, strategies, tactics, all kinds of stuff as you listen to different speakers. But what's important is that you have a grip on what your process is at any one point in time. Lack of confidence. Lack of confidence drives many things. One of the biggest problems with networking, as we get into this topic, is not how to do it or what to say. It's having the confidence to actually get on the phone and do it. You can do networking in a lot of different ways. Probably the most efficient is direct contact through telephone. But you need to have the confidence to do that. The plan I'm going to get into for the rest of our time together is designed to give you that confidence by taking baby steps into this arena called networking. If you don't have a plan, you'll tend to do it haphazardly and you'll never develop the confidence in the process. One of the biggest ways that you can spend some time productively is be ready to talk about yourself. Tell me about yourself is the most asked question during job search. And as part of your preparation, probably when you're working on your resume, probably when you're working with your references, you want to get very comfortable with talking about yourself in functional terms, not in personality terms, but in functional terms. Recruiters and HR people and hiring managers rarely use words like reliable, dependable. They use words like, he can run a press, she knows administrative process. You're looking for functional words to describe yourself in your 2-minute commercial, your 30-second pitch, or your 10-second spot. You'll never end practicing that because it's changing almost constantly during your job search and literally for the rest of your career. One of the other things that tends to defeat traditional job seekers is that they pick up a lot of premature rejection. You begin to feel like nobody wants you. That is statistically and researchably not true. Next slide. Reluctance to fully engage the process is very human. It's a combination of lack of confidence. It could be a little bit of fear of the unknown. My gosh, if I contact a hiring authority directly, won't they be making the decision about me that quickly? In a word, they could, but across the board, the process doesn't work that quickly. You've got plenty of time for additional contact. The other form of fear, and I've noticed this a lot over my 40 years, is the fear of success. You've got people, you've got job seekers out there that get so comfortable with their unemployment, they finally got time to do stuff around the house. They can finally keep up with the kids. They can finally take those couple of little trips they want to take. What that is the fear of success, because when you get your next job, you've got a commitment for 40 hours again. Next slide. Failing to plan is planning to fail. You want to give yourself tangible, result-focused activities. The biggest one, of course, is judging yourself and measuring yourself on the contacts that you're willing to make. Next bullet. You want to keep track of your productive time management issues. Some things that you're doing during job search can only be measured in terms of amount of time, like practicing your 2-minute commercial, practicing your 30-second pitch, practicing the answer to the question, what happened at your last employer? Why are you even looking? Those are time management things that you want to keep track of. Research is another example. Time on LinkedIn, another example. But the tangible result-focused activities are things like actual contacts, new contacts, follow-up contacts, contacts that you're getting back in touch with to stay top of mind. Those are all things that you can measure. Researchers over the years have come up with some ratios that we like to talk about in the career search space. For example, it turns out that for every 20 or 24 contacts that you make, you're likely to get one interview. So if you're aiming your weekly plan at making 24 new contacts, you're likely to average one interview a week. The interesting thing about contacts in today's world is that you don't always get through to the people that you're trying to contact. You hit voicemail, your email gets deleted. You have no control of those things. and they all get pitched into your follow-up number. You never want to make too many contacts that would force you to have a follow-up file that gets unmanageable. I usually recommend starting with 25 new contacts a week. Next bullet. Something I learned in the military. The command when you're shooting a gun or shooting a big cannon is ready, aim, fire. What most job seekers do is ready, fire. They forget the importance of aiming at the targets that you select for yourself. Who are those companies that are most likely to be able to hire a person like you because they have the work available inside of their business plan? First bullet, your first wave of networking. Now, let me add the element of real time here. You're probably at least 3 or 4 weeks away from when you began your job search effort. Takes time to pull your resume together, takes time to get your references organized, takes time to get comfortable with LinkedIn. Many people never get totally comfortable with LinkedIn. It's a very feature-rich, very robust social networking platform. So while you're doing those prep things, you could actually be engaging the easiest form of networking you've got, the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit are people you already know. I go out on a lot of project work all over the country. And the first thing I tell people to do when we're in this section on networking is, have you reached out to everyone you know around the plant here that's also losing their jobs? Because they have to be practicing too. What better, easy telephone call could you have than another person that needs to be doing the same thing? Part of wave one is to reach out to those other people that you know, but you haven't been in touch with for a while. I grew up in Wisconsin. My Wisconsin network is probably worth 3 or 4 phone calls a month, and that includes my family. But my network up there is hundreds of people, and I've maintained it, even though I've been down here in Texas for over 40 years. Maintaining your network as a career strategy is as important as knowing and being comfortable with networking when you're actually involved in job search. Now, what does that phone call sound like? What I usually use as an example, and when you're practicing this, by the way, practice with a partner either on the telephone, or if you're sitting there together, like over coffee or wherever you might be together in a networking meeting, like Jeff's meetings, practice back to back. The reason for the back to back is that you don't want to allow yourself the benefit of the eye contact. Eye contact and body language is really important, and you don't have that luxury when you're on the telephone. That digital medium called the telephone tends to take away from the nuances of tone and pitch, the volume that you're speaking at, the rate at which you speak. Or are you being slow? Or are you being very fast with your words? These are all things that you can iron out in that first wave of networking, where you're just getting used to being on the telephone, talking about yourself. The script for those phone calls: hey, Jeff, Bob Maher calling. Got a few seconds? You've identified both players, and you've made sure that they've got the time to talk to you. A lot of people launch right into telephone calls and they have no idea if the person's busy or not. I always like to trust and respect the other person's judgment on that. So again, Jeff, Bob Maher calling, got a few seconds? And then get them talking as quickly as you can. Remember, this is the front end of your networking and you're not fully confident yet. So ask them, if you're calling somebody that's also been laid off, ask them how they feel about being laid off. Ask them how they feel about losing that job that they've had for 20 years. Then you can begin to turn it into a conversation by commiserating with them, by talking to them about other people to call. You can get well into a conversation. And what a lot of times you'll find is that people appreciate the practice and they appreciate this brief use of time. These phone calls usually only last 3 to 5 minutes. Next wave, the next bullet. Whoa, where'd that one come from? In wave 2, you're actually beginning to utilize the referrals that you might get to begin to identify opportunities. Now, there's one more step I need to throw in here. Let's call it wave 1, bravo. In wave 1, when you get comfortable on the phone, now I would want you to begin to reach out to people that you should know or have reason to know. For example, people at your place of worship that you see every Sunday or Saturday, but you don't know their names, you've never met them. Reach out to people like that, people that you have something in common with, people from your trade groups and professional associations, people that you have something in common to talk about, because now you're taking your growing confidence and you're applying it to people that you don't have regular contact with. You can close off any telephone call with one simple request. Are there other people that I should be calling, or are there companies that you feel I should reach out to? Always ask for referrals every time you're on the phone, even if it's with people that you've been in touch with several times. It's this pool of opportunities that gives your job search the impetus and the ability to create interviews. Yes, create interviews. Next bullet point. Wave 3 is your target organization networking. Once you develop and have confidence in those companies that you'd really prefer to work for, you should have those driving part of your 25 contacts a week. In other words, if you have, let's say, let me pick a number here, because it's just, there's no magic to these numbers. I always like to think that just about every job seeker should be able to have a target organization list of at least 75 companies in an area like Dallas-Fort Worth. In an area like Flint, Texas, where I live, that realistic number might look more like 10 or 20. But you want to give yourself a list of target organizations so that you can go after those organizations as part of your weekly networking routine, your plan. Where do all these contacts come from? Well, the number of contacts is almost unlimited. By the time you add up people you know, people you should know, people inside of companies, people that do the same thing as you want to do, people that are around those functions inside the companies, you'll never get to the bottom of a contact list. This is all in your implementation, which begins with step 9 in the 12-step process. Implement in your plan. Next slide. It's like a giant target. You start with the A list, people you already know. You maneuver toward a growing B list, people that can bridge you or refer you to hiring authorities and people close to the hiring authorities. Your C list, notice the spelling change here. These are the people you have to see that can influence your hire. Obviously, these are people like the hiring authority themselves. It could be your next boss who isn't the hiring authority. The hiring authority is the person with the budget to bring you into their organization. Your next boss might not be your hiring authority. So you need to get to those people that can and are willing to influence your hire. A, B, C. And in that process that I've described for the last 5 or 10 minutes, it's about building your confidence to make those calls, because typically those calls would be cold calls. Next slide. Now you've got a different look at ready, aim, fire. Now you can feel ready. You can feel your confidence growing. If I were your coach, I would tell you, you will feel your confidence growing before I do. I'll hear it when we're on the telephone. I'll hear it and see it when we meet personally, but you'll feel it and know it quicker than I will. If you've got targets to aim at, don't forget that important word, aiming. Don't spend your time with companies that aren't big enough to hire you, don't have the resources available that you need for your work. It's your work that's important in the job market, not their jobs. And then fire, execute your plan. Next slide. So turning opportunities into interviews. Networking is aimed at identifying viable opportunities that you want to try to turn into interviews. Networking is your way in to a company of interest. Next bullet. Practice and repetition is your way to create the confidence to make the cold calls. Next bullet. Step number 10, which is accepting your offer. Step number 10 is the interview process. It's driven by practice confidence in your cold calling. You're probably going to be hired by a person that you're just getting to know. Now, there's an important implication of this. If you're exercising target organization networking, when you get hired, you will have onboarded yourself better than most companies can do. You'll already know people in and around the company. You may even know the places that you want to go to lunch. You have lots of people to thank for their help in your job search. And this all comes as part of your implementation of the plan. Next bullet. Identifying hiring authorities and creating visibility or your availability to them. If a hiring authority doesn't know you or doesn't at least know your name and what you do, there's no way you're going to get hired. You would have to go through that screening process, which is incredibly tough at certain times in the job market, sometimes easier than others. But by using this other market approach, you'll already have that visibility and they'll know who you are and that you're available. Now, in today's digital world, there's something I have to remind you of. When a person wants to find you in a giant database, like a recruiter looking for a project manager, they're limited to a keyword search, just like you are. until they know and can connect your name with a project management opening. So part of the reason why you do all of this networking, even though it seems unproductive at times, is that you're gaining memory on the part of people that need to know you and know you're available. This is how you get those phone calls at night that go something like this. Hey, Jeff, are you still available? Are you still looking for that industrial engineering and management kind of opportunity? Well, let me describe something I've got going on here at the ABC company. You get those phone calls when you've done your networking into your targeted organizations. Next bullet. Remember, they can't know what they don't know. When you position yourself, it's important to be very repetitive with your functional keywords. You want them to remember you for your experience, your knowledge, your skills. You don't have to tell them everything. They can't know what they don't know. Next slide. Here's what it looks like. Of all of your job search activities, networking, responding to ads if you still do, responding to openings in a company posting or in a networking group's posting, engaging with recruiters and other third-party resources. These are your 4 areas of job search activity. Now, the internet combines job postings, recruiter postings, and company postings. So the internet is an efficient way to take a look at the traditional job market. Networking, the equivalent is using social media, is using the social media resources that are available to you. It's actually worth more time on LinkedIn than it is, LinkedIn or other social media networks. Worth more of your time in terms of time management than actually applying for jobs. One of the biggest mistakes I hear people making is when I call them to follow up and see how they're doing, and I'll ask them, how are things going? What are you doing today? Well, I applied for this job. Okay, have you heard back from them? What have you done to network your way to that available work? And I want you to notice my change of language here. A company will refer to it as a job. I want you to get used to referring to it as the work that you're seeking. Give you an example of that. The positioning at the top of your resume where you tell the reader what you're ready to do for them, it could actually be the title of the job that you're applying for. So now let's take it a step further. You're in a big job bank or you've been to a networking group meeting and you have a handful of leads. Instead of applying for the open job, I would take at least an overnight, maybe even a day and a half to network your way to that opportunity. Network your way to it instead of subjecting yourself to the screening process. So who do you network to? Well, if you don't know the hiring authority, but you at least know the company name, you've got a couple of choices. You could talk to any employee because you'll eventually find people willing to pick up a telephone directory and help you find the right people. But ideally, you're looking for people that already have a relationship with that hiring authority. People in that department, people that that department reports to, or departments that report to your department. Again, this is almost an unlimited source of new contacts to make, but it requires a little bit of digging. Remember when I mentioned research back in step 6? That was first level research. Second level research is where you dig a little bit deeper and try to find contacts inside the company. Now, here's where the public networking groups really come in handy. The people that you engage with, even in Zoom, as you get to know them through phone calls, those are all contacts out there in real corporate America. Again, if you're adding up all these sources of networking contacts, it is almost unlimited, but of course, it's a finite number. So you've got 2 sources of employees. Any employee who could at least pick up a phone book and help you out, or people in and around the department that you want to be working in. When you find out the hiring authority and the department heads, now you're ready for that first phone call, if you're ready. That first phone call is just, hello, how are you? I need your help and advice. Got a couple of seconds? Always request permission for the use of another person's time when you're on the phone. And you've got some options here. If you haven't developed your confidence in these cold calls yet, you could use email. I guess you could use texting. One of the very common communication chains that people are beginning to use is texting first to see if a person's available for a phone call. This, of course, requires that you know their cell phone number. Now, there is something that gets in the way. That's the HR screening process. Traditional job search in today's world is more and more heading in that direction. From a company viewpoint, it makes more time management sense and efficiency to route all recruiting through their HR professionals. The problem is that's the hiring authority giving up their budget-driven right to hire the right people. Got to get to that hiring authority. This is targeted organization networking. Networking through people in and around the company. Don't forget customers. Don't forget vendors. Don't forget contractors, to uncover employees. Once you start talking to employees, find out the hiring authority. Once you've made the contact with the hiring authority, back off, because if you're too aggressive with some hiring authorities, you'll never get a call from them. They'll blow you off as way too aggressive. Back off to the people in and around their department. Those are the people that have no vested interest in screening you out. A hiring authority is typically a pretty busy person. They've got a lot of vested reason to screen you out. Next slide. Secure the interviews. When you've identified the opportunity, next bullet, step 11 says, identify and interact with the hiring authority to secure the interview process. When you're inquiring about the interview process, you can now use the word job again. I joke about this. When you're beginning a job search, take the word job right out of your vocabulary until you're scheduling an interview. Up until then, you're looking for the right work. You're looking for available work. You're looking for work that pays the right kind of salary. You're looking for work that'll value your experience and motivation and hopefully your passion. so that now the scheduling of an interview becomes much easier. The person already knows you. They want you to come in for an interview. You'll start getting those phone calls to schedule an interview. Next bullet. Never stop networking. Here's another common error that I see in a lot of job seekers. So how are you doing this week, Jeff? Well, I've got 3 interviews scheduled. Great. How's your networking coming? Well, I don't have much time for that. I'm doing a lot of research and preparation for the interviews. Don't ever stop networking. As a matter of fact, don't stop networking for the rest of your working days. Here in Flint, I'm semi-retired. I'll probably still do project work. I'll probably still take on some individual candidates. But I don't need to network to make that happen. I network just to stay visible in that marketplace. Same thing in your careers. Even though you may find yourself unemployed from time to time, your real mission is to keep your career intact and hopefully always have work/jobs that are satisfactory to you, that are paying you the right kind of money, and are motivational and inspirational for you. It's good to want to go to work in the morning. The way you get there is to never stop networking. Next slide, or next bullet rather. To do this, you'll be doing some continual research in level 2 to uncover contacts and viable contacts. Level 3 research is the interview prep. Certainly for the interview, you'll want to know your interviewers well. You'll want to know their situation as well as you can determine from outside the company. But remember, you've got some inside contacts. Call your contacts back. Hey, I finally got an interview with Jeff. How busy is his department these days? What's their newest project? What do they seem to be working on so much? Get some insider information by going back into your network. This is why your plan, way back in step 8, includes both new contacts and follow-up and staying in touch with existing contacts. You're going to be on the phone quite a bit. That's why you need to develop your confidence. Next slide. If you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now, you should be. Most traditional job seekers aren't doing a whole job search. Have you started with low-hanging fruit to develop your confidence so that you can ramp up? Are you reading and learning new things as part of your time management? Are you constantly aware of your growing comfort and confidence in this process? Are you getting quality referrals? Are you getting to know those people that are the right-hand person to the hiring authority? Oh, if you're trying to get a hold of Jeff, you need to get a hold of Jim because they play golf every Thursday. Wouldn't it be nice if you were in some of those good old person networks? Good networking will put you in those networks. Quality referrals is what takes the chill out of cold calls. Your personal confidence is what takes the chill out of the cold calls. There is no replacement for cold calls in terms of an efficient, productive job search. Next slide. So don't delay. I'm hitting you with a nautical reference here because I happen to have been in the Navy in my past life. That first flag is the flag that a ship would fly when they need help. They need a pilot to get them into the harbor. They need a pilot to get through the challenging waters down in the down in the Mississippi Delta. The second flag, the red and white one, is the flag that they raise when they have that help on board. So if you need help, if you're not comfortable with the process, give yourself a pilot. It could be a book, it could be a coach, it could be regular attendance at a networking group so that you're getting that regular flow of information. Those networking groups are there for many purposes. It's your way to practice and get comfortable with networking. It's your way of practicing your 30-second pitch. It's your way of identifying opportunities. They are little microcosms of the other job market if you take advantage of them fully. Anybody up for a little practice? How many of you out there know me well enough to call me by name? Gary, I would expect to at least hear you volunteer. Is everybody muted?
Yeah, most people are muted right now. But yeah, a bunch of people raising their hands.
Yeah, raise their hand and give me a happy, smiling volunteer. Let's practice a phone call to somebody you know. Christine raised her hand.
Hi.
Dana, call me as if you knew me. We used to work together.
Hey, Bob, I haven't talked to you since we got out of school. I know that's, that was like more than 10 years ago. But I've seen some of what you've been doing on LinkedIn, and I was just wondering what's going on with you. What all's happened?
Well, what's going on with me is that I've fairly recently moved out of Dallas to Flint, Texas. I'm beginning to wind down my need for a 40-hour work schedule.
Nice.
And I'm playing as much golf as I want to. How's your life hitting you?
My life's been doing pretty good. I'm happily married, have a house on the eastern side of Atlanta. And I've been working as a chemist for a while now. But I'm thinking of moving and because I'm looking for work, and I was wondering if you might know anybody I should talk to.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what I can offer you easily is when we're connected on LinkedIn, you will have access to my entire network. And that includes some people around the Atlanta area because I used to do lots of project work out that way.
Oh, well,
My brother used to teach at Georgia State University.
oh, very cool.
And I love Sprayberry's barbecue down in Noonan.
I don't get down to Newman too much, but I'll have to check that place out the next time I'm down there.
Now, you've just experienced some bad weather, haven't you?
Yes. In fact, Newman got hit very bad. It was one of the places where the tornado went through.
Did that affect you at all directly?
No. We just had lightning and wind. Luckily, I didn't lose any more trees. I have an acre of forest land. So with a bad storm, I always have a tree come down, it seems like.
Yeah, you're a chemist by background and by
Yes.
experience.
Yes.
Do you work mostly in product-oriented testing and analysis, or do you do any of the new product development in your chemical work?
I've been working more on the quality control side, with quality control of existing products, analyzing to see if they meet the requirements and such, and also in raw materials.
Yeah, so who are some of your target organizations in your area?
Alcon, for instance, Johnson and Johnson, because I've been working under good manufacturing conditions. So I can work in a pharmaceutical environment that's a heavily regulated environment.
Let's call a timeout on this role play. But I want people to realize what they're listening to here. She asked me if I was available for my time. We started with just some idle chit chat. Some of you aren't comfortable with idle chit chat. You need to get comfortable with that because you don't want to launch right into asking a person about professional stuff. Let it come to that like it did with Christina and I, and then close off the conversation because now we've been through the idle chit chat. Right. We've talked about some functional stuff. We've talked about target organizations. Now it's time to end the phone call unless you want to talk to this person for another hour.
Right.
Yeah, you want to get your next phone call. So you want to say something like, well, I appreciate your time today, Bob. Is there anybody else that you can think of I should be contacting during my work search?
All right. So Bob, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. I will make contact with you on LinkedIn. And is there anybody else that you can suggest I talk to?
Yeah, I would suggest strongly that you talk to some of the energy-oriented companies because they tend to all have chemical labs. And you probably don't even target the energy world, do you?
I haven't thought about it, but I do have a pretty diverse background, having gone to school in paper science, so I can make the switch.
Uh-huh.
That's a good thought. Thank you, Bob.
You bet. Thanks, Christina. You did a great job here. Next practice session, and by the way, when I'm in a group out on a big project, this is how I get the group willing to practice. I promise them it's going to be easy. I let them talk to their person sitting right next to them. I don't pair them up with people they don't know. You want to keep your early networking as positive as possible. When you feel your confidence growing, now it's time to scale up a notch. Call people that you have something in common with. Christina could call other chemists. I could call other career coaches. Call people that you have something in common with so you can ask them about that area that you have in common. This will, again, build your confidence from the baby steps up to a little bit bigger steps before you make calls to people you don't know. Anybody want to practice that who you should know call? Everybody should call Bob.
Any volunteers?
Is there a sign for laughter in Zoom, Jeff?
I know there are a couple of things. I'll have to look and see what they are. There's a thumbs up. Nice little applause. Anybody else? If not, I know we're running out.
Yeah, we can switch over to questions if you'd like, because I know you're close to closing time.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask? Anybody, any questions you want to ask Bob before we end? Any questions?
I see a request for my email address. It is bob@careerpilot.com.
And if you want to link in with Bob, be sure to, number one, send him a personal note. So just don't send him a connection request. Tell him you saw him here at today's presentation. Well, Bob, I want to thank you very, very much. I think it was great information for everybody. Once we finally got started here, we had a few hiccups getting started, but thank you for being with us. Next Monday, our speaker is Jay Arbetter. He's going to talk about networking the old-fashioned way. I will tell you this presentation will go probably 90 minutes. So it'll be a little longer. We'll go from 1 to about 2:30. So I just want to warn you right now that it'll be a little longer than normal. So networking the old-fashioned way with Jay Arbetter. Career DFW, we're putting on training every day of the week now, Monday through Friday. Hopefully, please find another job seeker. Let them know about the programming we're putting on. Tomorrow morning, actually, I have a special presentation I'm putting on tomorrow for the senior source, how to find out about Career DFW and Career USA. It'll be at 10 a.m. Central Time. I'll put a Zoom link and stuff. It'll be on the Career DFW calendar. You can click on it to get the Zoom link. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, our LinkedIn presentation, as we do every Monday, LinkedIn Tuesdays, LinkedIn search engine optimization. On Wednesday, for interviewing Wednesdays, we'll have session number 13 of 13, avoiding interview crashes. So you've learned what to do. Now you'll get a little thing here just to keep your mind of what you shouldn't do. This Thursday, we'll have our effective resume Thursdays. We'll do resume tips and tricks. You'll have an opportunity to win a free month of unlimited use of jobscan.co. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're going to have open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. I do know it's Good Friday. A lot of you will have kids at home, but we will be meeting and we'll answer whatever questions. It'll just sort of be a free-for-all. Come with your questions for this Friday. And then this Friday, also at 1 o'clock, Women of Wisdom, they will be meeting. They meet the first and third Friday at 1 p.m. Central. It is by invitation only. You do need to send an email to wow, at careerdfw.org to be invited, because they don't want to have 50 or 60 people. They're trying to limit it to 20, 25 people at the most. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. This video will take a couple hours for YouTube to get it uploaded. On the YouTube channel, it looks something like this. Be sure to click on playlist, and then down at the bottom, you'll see all the different playlists that I've got created. And there's a new one now called networking, and you'll be able to find all the networking sessions. Don't click on the video, but click down where you see that red arrow where it says view full playlist, because this is the way that you'll find a list of all the all the meeting sessions and the titles that we've talked about. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. You can send an email to careerusa+subscribe@groups.io. I'll put this email address up at the very, very end so you can go through and copy it. Please remember, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Career DFW, we survive on donations. Bob is a volunteer. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done the last 12, 13 years has strictly been as a volunteer. Please consider making a donation when you get your next opportunity. We just paid for another year of Zoom. We'll have expenses when we have to renew our website names and our web hosting. So anything I can't get donated, and I try to get everything donated. Whenever I can't get donated, we have to pay for, and that's what the donations cover. So thank you very much for joining us today. There's that email address if you'd like to join the Career USA mailing list, and hopefully we will see you later in the week. Let me stop the recording here.